Hello and welcome to State View. I'm Mark Crosby of Quincy Access Television. Thank you so much for joining me and my guest. He is a state representative from the 1st Norfolk District. That would be Representative Bruce Ayers. Bruce, welcome back.
Mark, nice to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk with you about some of the things going on Beacon Hill.
And I guess the main thrust behind this kind of a program is that we really touch upon issues that are of importance to your constituents.
Yes, it's a good point because a lot of the topics, that are coming up now are generated by the amount of phone calls or emails or office visits that we get on Beacon Hill. So the issues, as you know, they always change. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of bills, but these are the ones that receive the most attention. We
should also mention that on today's date, that would be the 30th, correct? Am I right with that?
Yes.
Yeah. The Senate and the House are trying to pass a supplemental budget. The delay, I believe, was because of the allowance for shelters.
That's correct. I'm hearing today, though, there is some movement. So we're hopeful because there's an awful lot tied up in that whole legislation because it's commingled. So I think you'll probably see some movement shortly.
We will be talking about some, legislation as it pertains, I'd say, to your district, but really not only your district. We had this talk just moments before we sat down that legislation passed, no matter where it's passed in Massachusetts, affects the whole state.
That's right. Yeah, it's a good point. I think as legislators, you look at things through two different sets of lenses. One lens would be your legislative district, everything that encompasses there, and the other lens is the entire Commonwealth. So when we're voting on issues or advocating for certain bills or budgetary matters, we want to make sure that it's best for our district and the overall Commonwealth of Massachusetts, whether we're dealing with transportation, dealing with our seniors, education, things like that, that we're competitive throughout the country being from Massachusetts.
Universal school meals. This was in the news recently, not too long ago.
That's right. It was a great piece of legislation, Mark, that is passed now. Would give all free meals to students in public schools. Research.
It's a big undertaking.
It is. The research shows. It's having a good, well-balanced meal. With that type of nutrition, the kids can just concentrate. They're more focused, both mentally and physically for their health. And it helps parents with some of the financial burdens that might not be able to afford to have their kids have a meal. It takes the pressure off them, and they know that their son or daughter is going to school, is going to be fed. So it's a great bill. It provides financial relief for the families, and it eliminates the stigma of the low income-based programs, that they had in the past.
Well, that was, as you were talking about it, I knew you were going to get there, but the stigma, and that really is, can be so, it can produce such a negative feeling for the child.
That's right. And we wanted to address that. I've got to give Speaker Mariano a lot of credit. This was something, that he was a driving force behind. The governor and lieutenant governor were down at Snug Harbor School as part of this whole piece of legislation touting the bill. So it's a great bill. No child should get off the school bus in the morning wondering if he's going to have lunch. This will ensure that all our kids are having healthy meals in school.
But with that said, the price tag must have been substantial.
It was. They worked the price tag out with Ways and Means. I believe it was like 161 million that they're working throughout the Commonwealth. But, they found the money. There was definitely a need there to help our students, so it's something I think that everybody is proud of.
Number 2 on our list, state services.
Right. Working, of course, with the delegation, we're always trying to get the most we can for our legislative district. I've said this before, we got a great delegation with Speaker Mariano, Tacky Chan, and Senator Keenan. But, we're always working together to find out what we can do collectively. And, working with whether it's state police, the Department of Conservation and Recreation and other state agencies, we want to make sure we're getting more than our fair share of services. And recently we're working with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, who oversees the state roads. We want to, last winter we were pretty lucky. We didn't get much snow. I'm not sure what's going to happen this year, but we want to be...
It's going to be wet, but that could mean snow, it could mean rain.
That could. And, we want to be prepared. So working with DCR officials, we want to make sure that the storm preparedness is set. The proper precautions are all made. Our state roads, whether it's Quincy Shore Drive, First Brook Parkway, other areas that encompass the state, are going to have the proper plows. Also along the sidewalks, that the sidewalk plows are prepared, sand, salt, de-icing, all the types of things that factor into storm preparedness. And we want to make sure that there's no jurisdictional problems either, where Quincy and the state serve different areas within the city of Quincy. Yeah.
And of course, something that affects us all year, it certainly knows no season, and that's sea level rise. Coastal community, the city of Quincy certainly is a coastal community. The state is part coastal.
That's right. And that's why it's so important to have that open dialogue and preparedness up front. Because the key areas, whether it's out in our peninsulas of Squantum or Howes Neck or down areas off of Wollaston Beach, that can be problematic. The city's done a great job addressing all those over the years, but you never know the magnitude of a storm. But if we know these areas ahead of time and the proper equipment and manpower, we've got a fighting chance to protect the residents in those areas.
I know the seawalls have gone up about, I believe, an additional 2 feet from what they used to be, simply because of that storm surge.
That's right. That's right. And also during this time of year, the delegation also, assists in the funding going to our social service agencies, our nonprofits, keeping in mind that, being mindful of some people that might be in need of some services. We're lucky. We've got a lot of great agencies, QCAP. We have Quincy Asian Resources, a lot of them, that take care of individuals. So if, a lot of people already know about these programs and what's available, but, QCAP offers fuel assistance to people. Quincy Asian Resources, offers some food security. NeighborWorks takes people and helps them out with housing issues. So, I hear from some residents who, from no fault of their own, may have lost their job. Now there's worries about food insecurity, housing insecurity. So these programs are out there. If they need more information, they can certainly contact us, but they're great resources. And also our fraternal organizations, groups like the Elks, the Lions Club, the Sons of Italy, they all do an awful lot behind the scenes quietly with charitable endeavors. I know now they're planning for the holiday with food baskets. Our veterans organizations, along with fraternal, have huge toy drives. So, for people who may be in need, there's some great resources, and the city of Quincy really kind of steps up to help the people.
And for those who do have the means and would like to contribute, certainly there are those agencies that you mentioned.
That's right. Everybody is just trying to kind of pay it forward. So there's for people out there, there's these agencies that they can rely on.
Let's talk about some bills. I guess we will start with the Senior Care Oversight and Accountability Bill.
Yes, that's one we recently passed in the House. It addresses more issues and gives more authority to the Department of Public Health. What it does, it has more oversight and more control over our nursing homes and our assisted living facilities. There's like in any industry, there's some great nursing and assisted living facilities, and there are some that aren't so good. What this bill is aimed to do is to crack down on the ones that are in need of improvement. And how we address that is strengthening more government oversight, giving the Department of Public Health more jurisdiction by revoking their license if necessary, or civil penalties. They monitor for any abuse or neglect or any social isolation complaints that may be going on. These are the areas of they're going to be targeting. It also does other elements or provisions in the bill. It creates a fund that would help with training the nurses, educating the nurses, providing overall better health care to the patients. It also helps what's emerging now as smaller nursing homes. These smaller nursing homes hold up to like 14 patients, but it's one patient per room. So there's a lot of provisions in the bill that address the whole industry. If
So I'm sure the ratio is addressed as well.
it is.
Staff to patient.
That's right, it is. And when someone is faced with the daunting decision of putting someone in a nursing facility or an assisted living, you want to make sure that that loved one is being cared for. That there's a lot of different factors that come into it. So these is what we want to make sure that those patients are being well cared for.
Air traffic safety bill. Folks will, I guess, be able to maybe make the connection if I mention laser lights pointed at aircraft.
That's right. I have a bill up on Beacon Hill now that would address laser pointing at planes. Just over the last 2 months, I think there was 12 laser incidents at Logan Airport that affected both airplanes and helicopters.
Just in a month.
Just in a month. I got the idea from a pilot that I spoke to when I was on a flight from Boston to Florida. And when he found out I was a legislator, he had told me about some of the experiences that he encompassed by having someone point a laser into the cockpit when he was flying. He explained how it confuses him, it temporarily blinds you, and this is while you're navigating the controls when you're descending. So he was talking about the need to have Massachusetts come up with a law. So when I came back home, we did some research and we found out that 25 states throughout the country had similar bills on the books. And we drafted something to kind of copy that. Because right now, Mark, the jurisdiction falls under the FAA. But a lot of times they can't handle all the cases. They might not have the resources. So,
well, if you're saying 12 just in this past month.
That's right. So this would give the state more control, more jurisdiction, our local police, more tools and resources to crack down on this type of risky behavior.
For the perpetrators, they may be any age, but I guess what you just went through and the description by the pilot to tell you what it actually looks like inside the cockpit, the perpetrators maybe don't understand how such a light could go the distance.
That's right. It's a great point. It's no joke. It's no harmless prank. You can buy these laser pointers off of Amazon for, I think they're $10 or $15, and the range can go 2 to 3 miles. Last year, we had 378,000 flights go into Logan Airport with 35 million passengers, and the FAA had 9,500 reports of laser incidents. So this is something that needs to be addressed more seriously. In my legislative district, the flight paths go right over the city of Quincy and the town of Randolph. So it's an issue, I think, that having extra resources on the ground to pinpoint where these laser pointers may be originating from will crack down on it. And out of the 25 states that had laws on the books, there was a deduction in those incidents, and that's what I was trying to accomplish with this bill.
Makes sense, right? If there's legislation out there and it has meat to it, then these incidences will drop off.
That's right, because not only does it put the lives of risks of the pilots, the passengers, the crew, but also the residents and the community below. So it's something that needs to be taken more seriously.
The wage transparency bill.
Yes, this bill. It's a great bill. It addresses the gender and racial wage inequities. Equal pay for equal work. Research.
It's hard to believe that we're still talking about this in 2023.
It is, and it levels the playing field. It is hard to believe that it is, but for women make in some cases 81 cents to the dollar that a man would make, and women of color in some cases make about 55 cents. So what this bill would do is level the playing field. Again, equal pay for equal work. It would hold businesses more accountable, that they have to post all the information on the job applicants and the information that a potential employer or applicant might be applying for, so that person applying for the job will know just what the pay scale is, and they can compare it to other businesses that may have a similar opening. Gives them more negotiating power, and companies will be more competitive towards their hiring practices. It's kind of a win-win, but it ensures that there are no unfair practices based on race or gender, which it should be.
And then ultimately, if something like this is not in place, it does create animosity within the workplace.
That's right, it does. So with this bill now, it can ensure that it does have the information that the businesses can disclose, so people have a better chance to find out what their pay scale will be and how competitive it is.
You know the song Slow Boat to China? Well, this isn't a slow boat to China, but we will be talking about water travel. So the Long Island Ferry, I guess slow boat to Boston.
Well, the issue continues to go, and it's great to work with Mayor Koch and Councilor Harris and Senator Keenan on this issue. We're all for helping people that need treatment and
right. We
facilities.
Should mention exactly. We should mention the Long Island facility, Long Island Bridge.
That's right.
No bridge, ferry is your proposal.
And we all do our part supporting those services, whether it's in Quincy or wherever your district is. But it's just sometimes the method. So recently I filed a bill that would create a commission, an 11-member commission made up of appointees from the governor, members of the House, members of the Senate, the City of Boston, the City of Quincy, to study the feasibility of the costs associated to run a ferry from the City of Boston to Long Island. Two things I was trying to accomplish. One, so we can get a hard number on what those costs would be. And the second, to bring the parties together to maybe find that if the cost is feasible, maybe we can open up more of a dialogue and have a common ground. Because, water transportation has proved to be successful. We look at other big cities, New York and out on the West Coast in Seattle, those cities comparable to Boston have been very successful with their ferry service.
And our roads are becoming more crowded by the day.
They are. I read a study the other day that said Boston, if you can believe it, was the second worst in the country. So this would, to your point...
You don't want to be on that list.
No, and
You don't want to be high on that list.
You don't, but unfortunately we are. And, to your point, it could take over an hour to go from Long Island to Boston with traffic, where in contrast to a ferry, it could be 15, 20 minutes. So this bill would bring those issues more to light. Would have the right people, whether it's from Quincy or Boston, working together to study, take a little bit more of a deeper dive to see if this water transportation is going to be a good alternative. The second bill, Mark, that I have would start to take another look at maybe an alternative location. So what this bill would do, it would study the feasibility of vacant state-owned properties within the City of Boston. For example, say the Shattuck Hospital. It's a vacant building. It's conducive. It has a healthcare setup. It has dormitory-style rooms. It has a cafeteria. But this building is closer to transportation services, the MBTA, the bus lines, and other services that people need in Boston. that could be set up in a quicker amount of time and less expensive. The last cost that we heard from Boston to rebuild the bridge was $200 million. That's for the bridge, and it was close to $600 million to refurbish the buildings on the island. So that is more than three-quarters of $1 billion. What my bill aims to do is to see if we take an audit of all the state-owned properties in the city of Boston, and there's a vacant building that may be conducive, perhaps that's another alternative that could be quicker, less expensive, and more timely. You know, if we all know someone who may have addiction problems and needs treatment, and you know, they need help now. They can't wait 6 or 7 years for a bridge or facilities to be built. You know, we ought to be looking at that first and foremost to find out what's going to be a cheaper alternative closer to Boston. And the extra savings could go towards the treatment that people need.
And just before we leave this topic, and I actually began talking about the water taxi in general, and actually maybe even more specific to the water taxi that was implemented over the summer from Squantum Point Park. That was extended towards the end of the year, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And you know, it showed each year the water transportation has showed an increase in ridership, and it's a program where it does take years to build up. You know, we were very fortunate. You know, we partnered with the town of Winthrop that had the ferry. You know, the MBTA came in and helped out. They extended the service, but you know, we're a seacoast community, and you know, water transportation is an option. It's an alternative to getting to Boston, and we should be able to offer our residents that alternative. You know, in a lot of cases, it's a great way to get to downtown Boston. Right now, it makes 2 stops in downtown Boston. It goes to the airport, and it could easily be expanded upon to go to other areas like UMass and other areas, maybe up the North Shore and South Shore.
Let's turn now to scams and fraud awareness. There are constantly folks out there that are set on deception.
Yes, you know, especially this time of year, because during the holiday season, the scams they just go up in rate. Research shows they're up, I think, 25% this year alone already. But they always are constantly changing. You know, they try to get people either by phone or online or in person. You know, and it's nice to bring it up, Mark, because you know, people may know some of these scams and may not know, but you know, they'll call you on the phone to try to deceive you, to try to tell you maybe they're involved with Medicaid or Medicare, or you have tax problems with the IRS, or you want a sweepstakes, just to get your personal information where they can defraud you there by taking your money. Online, what's commonly being done now is these look-alike websites. So you could be on a fraudulent website, maybe thinking it's an Amazon or a fake social media ad on Facebook, and be tricked into giving all your information, which their goal is to get, by getting maybe a special on a Christmas item you're trying to buy. You know, and then in person, there's a scam out there now called Stranger in the Street. And what this scam is someone would come up to you, say they're in an emergency, and could they borrow your phone? When you hand them over the phone, of course, is unlocked, and where you think they might be making an emergency call, what they're really doing is they look to see if we have Venmo, and they're transferring monies from your bank account into theirs. And before you know it, the money has disappeared.
And most cases, you don't get that money back.
You don't. That's right. It's very hard to recoup some of the, particularly Venmo, in situations like that. You know, so that's a relatively new scam. So during the holiday season, if people are shopping and someone asks to use your phone for some type of emergency, be cautious.
You know, and I'm thinking, we are walking around with computers. They are phones, but people don't think of them as computers. If maybe people did, then things like this would make sense. that could happen.
Yes, that's right. An individual that had contacted our office got scammed, and in that case, it was a stranger on the street. They said that, there was an emergency. They had to call their wife right away, and, he was good-natured. He tried to do the right thing, and he got caught. And there was no recourse, unfortunately, for that type of, incident.
You had talked about service organizations. You had mentioned the Elks early on in this particular program. Let's talk about the Elks and scholarships.
Sure. The Elks, like a lot of fraternal organizations, are always giving back to the community. Quincy's very fortunate. They've got some very active fraternal organizations with members who are just giving back. The Elks are now working on their scholarship program. The application process is available. There is a local scholarship application that people can now get. The deadline is March 15th. There's a state Elks scholarship program that's also available now. That deadline is January 15th. And there's also a vocational scholarship application that is also January 15th. But, they realize the high costs of going to college and everything associated with that. They're great programs. Certainly encourage anyone who may have a son, a daughter, or a grandson or a granddaughter to contact my office. We'd be happy to send them information and an application out.
At the beginning of this program, actually before we actually started speaking on camera, I was talking about my son and the amount of money it's costing me to send him to school. So these help, they help.
They do.
So please take advantage.
That's right, they do. The Elks are very generous. Last year we gave out over 22 scholarships. The state program has a bigger endowment. I know in some cases they give up to maybe $1,500 to $2,000. In the state program, the students can apply every year they're in college. It's just not a one-shot deal. So there's some great programs out there for parents who might be interested in defraying some of the costs.
Yeah, the kids don't care. Let's end the program with the holiday toy drive.
Yeah, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, Mark, we want to let people know that might be in need of a little assistance this year. Is there people out there that want to help? We have a toy drive going, that we work with a lot of folks, but a lot of the veterans groups do. I know out in my district alone, the Seaside Gardeners are very active. The Squantum School's active. The Nickerson Post has a toy drive, and that's just in Squantum. All throughout the city, we certainly want to commend everybody that makes the efforts to help people and pay it forward, because we're still feeling the effects of post-COVID, and not a lot of people are back to the regular pace, so to speak. So we want to make sure that people know these programs, and there's people there that want to help.
So if someone does have a toy that they would like to donate, they could get in contact with your office?
Sure. I certainly encourage them to contact our office. Like I said, we're doing a toy drive that we annually do, but they can look to even see what's closer to their neighborhood, because there's an awful lot of organizations doing it. The Toys for Tots, I know a lot of the veterans organizations do it. The Morissette Post, the Nickerson Post, to name a few. They're always reaching out and giving back. They do it quietly, but if people are in need of help, they're right there for them.
Representative, I want to thank you for joining me here in studio to talk about some current legislation, talk about some recent happenings, and we'll certainly have you back in the new year to talk more.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations again on your recent award.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, well deserved, and
well, it's people like you that make that award possible. I believe we had a clip probably from State View in there. So thank you and your colleagues for utilizing Access Television.
Well, if it helped, that's great, because obviously it's a big help for people like myself. We want to inform people of what's going on at the State House, and have an opportunity to work with you is great.
Great. We'll continue in 2024.
Great.
Thank you at home for watching, and please remember to support the local Access TV station in the community in which you reside.